I thought we were just getting warmed up.
Yeah, sweet.
This is just rehearsal, isn't this? Long time ago, I did pop in once just to see what was this place. But then what got me through the door was a friend was a regular here, a well-loved regular. And he developed Alzheimer's. When it got pretty bad, a group of his friends convinced him to give up his car keys. I drew the short straw to take him along to King Street. I came along and, what are you going to do? And I said, I don't know. And so she gave me a lump of clay and said, make a pot.
What sort of struck you about King Street?
Diversity, aroha, those two things. I just loved it. I actually still do. And every day is a good day at King Street. How do I get support? Again, that diversity of people who are coming from all different. They're just different people from me, and what they do. I mean, come on, open up the kiln and outpours this range of snakes and animals and people and colors and what they're doing. So it's very inspirational like that and energizing. And then you get also, whoa, how did you do that color? And so there's this feedback, very lively. And that's just amongst us people. The tutors then go, oh, how did she do that? Then the tutor can say, the experience here, I get so much wonderful advice and instruction, the different skills of the different tutors. So I've painted some of my pieces that have come out. We've got really expert painters here. Skills that you wouldn't get like even in a pottery club. Materials, tools. Some days I feel really driven from the inside. I've got this idea I'm going to pursue. I've got the value as a community. I mean, I'm a retired guy. I was a historian, and then I was very active environmentalist around New Zealand and Wairarapa. When it comes to my homeboys, this is it. You're my mates. In those first impressions that you asked about, that first head that I made, and it looked back at me and said something. It expressed something. My first thought, I'll just say, was, and I didn't have to write a single word. It was so liberating not to have to write. Yeah, I just leapt into the visual arts, away from the wordy arts, whatever it is. If I were exploring my creativity, finding new expression and meaning, I would have to be doing it, through some, I don't know where I would do it or how I would do it. I would be alone. It would feel much more alone. And here it's really finding myself in a place of love and fellowship,
I've gone straight out of Picasso's Guernica into this environment.
Totally good. Totally cool.
I was working in community arts, and then as soon as I met King Street, I fell in love, and shortly after they fell in love with me. I was a young person, and now I'm wise. So here there's more of a family feel, a sense of belonging, a sense that when you walk into the door, it's like your aunties and uncles and nannies and kukuls. It's like you're part of an extended family. As soon as you walk in the door, here you're an artist. I love it that we know people so well. Some of the work that we've done that's kind of left of field. A lot of our work out in the public I love, like we've done murals and we've got links to Aratori and con art. And one of the big highlights for me is that, and it took a while, it took a naughty while, but we were taken seriously by the art world, and we had artists who were putting works in selected shows, and we had a high percentage of work selected, but it put us on the art page rather than on the sheltered workshop page. And that's a massive highlight. And the other big highlight for me is surviving this long, steadfastly and with continued excellent service. Yeah, so that's a massive highlight. You'll have to stop me. It's all highlights. The reasoning behind Women's Only Day is solid. It's the fact that a lot of mental health issues are gender specific for women. I think they are too for men, but the statistics show that a lot of things to do with abuse issues in relationships or post-traumatic stress type of things, also quite a lot of undiagnosed, particularly prior to now, 20 or 30 years ago, a lot of undiagnosed postnatal depression. Those sort of issues have long-term effects on women's mental health and the mental health of the family. So they can be dealing with mental health of others within the family, and the woman we were picking up tended to be the corner post or the organizer or the person dealing with those things as well. There are other issues, but those are the main ones. And what's really interesting is a lot of those quite specific states of unresolved for that person actually take a lot of specific counselling to unravel. We don't engage in that specific counselling, but what we do is provide a safe place where people can empower themselves more, and self-empowerment always helps with the in-depth specific counselling that may have to go on for those people as well. So self-empowerment is a tool that is never lost on people. I think that your bones are essential, so your policies that protect that kaupapa of respect and self-empowerment and the way that the studio works. If you were to set up this model elsewhere, to take the strong bones of this model and repeat it. The other thing is personality and relationship to the community. So here we're really lucky that our community has supported this. So whatever else our community is or isn't doing, it's enlightened in the sense that it's supported King Street for 25 odd years. And so wherever the place is, that community has to understand the need and be enlightened enough to say, we want this. We want this with both hands. We don't want it in a short-term way. We want it in a long-term way, because one of the other things with mental health is a long-term providing of consistent and excellent care that has to be a given. So you can't just do it for 5 years and stop. A lot of the things that happen on Women's Day is actually swapping of stories, swapping of strengths, and swapping about those family stories. We have very strong kaupapa of respect, and artists always first. We work on personality, so when someone comes in the door, you want 100% hit rate. I love it when people say to me, I can't believe this is free.
Yeah.
What can I do to give back? And I get to say, you've just done it. You just walked in the door, and we don't have anyone like you. Here you are. You're the taonga for our organisation. You're the present that we have just been given. I mean, how cool is that? And it's the truth. Yeah.
My favourite thing about coming to King Street is the pottery ceramics side of it. No experience. What I found interesting about pottery is all the creations you can do. You can basically make anything you want.
Is there anything in particular about the pottery area and that you like?
Mainly the people and the environment that you're working with. Yeah, sort of the people are peaceful, kind, you know. You know you're not on your own. The joy is taking your mind off everything else that's surrounding you. They're just focusing on the clay, nothing else. You just sort of get into the groove of it, where all your other worries are just off the planet, you know?
You don't really have to worry.
You don't have to worry. You're deep in mind in the pottery side of it. It's good therapy, it's good for mental health and taking your mind off negative thoughts. What I find interesting about pottery is it doesn't matter what it looks like, you're in your own creation. It doesn't have to look legit. What I really like about the people is at King Street is their friendliness, kindness, and they're all got their own personalities. That's what makes King Street, you know, a great place. What I like about the Tudors is they're all, you know, unique, I suppose. They're all got their own traits. People, the encouragement and, you know, just the friendliness is always encouraging. You know, they've always, you know, it would be hard without them to do the pottery. Very encouraging. Just to sort of never give up and try and do it yourself. I find it important for when it's this way, as they are, you know, they're encouraging, caring, they're always there if you need a helping hand. Just important in pottery. You know, they encourage you to just be you, do your kind of work, not focusing on the reality of what it's going to look like, kind of thing. Which is encouraging for anyone in an art studio, I suppose. The sort of things I've done with my work is exhibit in the King Street Art Studio. Fantastic space there, and it was the most successful exhibition King Street have ever had, which is really good for King Street, and showing how much they support everyone, showcasing their pieces. I was lucky enough to showcase some of my work at Animals Gallery up in Auckland, which is fantastic. It was a pretty important part of my life. King Street should be pretty much stuck at home, yeah. Yeah. Hanging out with this guy here is more fun.
Always happy to come into King Street. So I've always had an interest in ceramics. I grew up with a mother who was a potter, and that's always had a little place on the back burner in my mind. The Wairarapa, everybody knows everybody, and it's all about relationships. And yeah, I brought my son along, 5 years old, and the first exhibition that was in this room was Audrey's work, and she does fabulous stuff of books coming to life with Alice in Wonderland themed stuff, and just perfect for the 5-year-old. So that was it. It was a very happy place. And slowly but surely, I got more and more into it. And now every spare moment I get, I slip out of the office and come and hang out here.
What struck you about Torture when you first started being into it?
The accessibility. I think when I first came in, growing up with the mother who did pottery, it meant I was comfortable around Claire. I knew what the equipment was, but I had almost zero experience myself. And the tutors here were just so welcoming, and just, I didn't want a lot of direction in the beginning. I just wanted to get some clay and just try and do some figuring out myself before I was ready to ask any questions and take any guidance. And that's exactly what they gave me. So it was just such a welcoming space. I think I came in with big ambitions, and then they had to dial it back a bit. They were I think the sea urchin that finally made it through the kiln in one piece was take 3, in fact. We definitely had a bit of learning on the way. But
And you come from a chef background, right?
well, King Street fills a void for me. I chefed for just over 20 years, which in human years is probably 30, because you're doing 14-hour days through the summer. It was my life. There wasn't a lot of time for anything on the side like I have now. And that required a lot of creativity, a lot of, working with elements to a controlled outcome. And I changed careers 3 years ago and got into, now I'm a financial advisor, quite a flipping script. Nowadays, my time is spent navigating legislation and very prescriptive black and white bank policy, and there's a lot of room for problem solving, but to be frank, there's very little creativity. So I kind of, Wednesday nights, that's my happy place. I come in here and I scratch that itch. I can explore how to express something through an element of clay and glaze. With a chefing background, I didn't realize how much I needed that creative outlet that was a part of that job until I stopped it. Now it's like, if I don't have this, I start losing my mind. The Wednesday nights I tend to try and come on my own. That's my own space away from the family. It's my own sort of selfish time to myself. I think that's very important. I used to live a very Jekyll and Hyde life, as you do when you're a chef. You're one person at work, which is the majority of your time, and then you try and be the best partner or father you can at home. Now it's very much the routine of 9 to 5. I don't get a lot of time to myself. So Wednesday nights, it helps me sort of scratch that I need a bit of selfish time. There are a lot of clubs and groups and different communities in the Wairarapa, most of them structured around a very particular something. I think King Street, it offers so many different things that it's the most inclusive community. We've got it all here, and definitely quite technical support from the tutors, because you definitely reach a point where you're like, okay, well, now I've got ambitions. I want to create this thing. I don't have the skills. Help me get there. Show me, what do we need? You know what I mean? It's quite nice to see that the face-to-face human interaction and conversation is still out trumps 100 YouTube videos, which is, I think that's pretty good. I think that it's an incredible resource, and if we could open a giant version of it and fly the flags, that would be exceptional. I think for now it's a beautiful thing what it is. If I don't come here for a couple of weeks, there's a lacking in my life. Definitely. This fills a need of that balance that keeps me happy. Absolutely.
How long have you been involved with King Street, and how did you get involved with the organisation?
Well, I've been involved since before we started 27 years ago, and basically it was called the Health Funding Authority, and they asked another organisation called Vincent's to look into setting up a similar organisation over in the Wairarapa. I was a tutor here, or in the old building at least, yeah.
And now you're managing King Street Upwards?
Yes, I am. Love it, absolutely love it. The people make the job so much easier, and we do get core funding from Te Whare Ora, very willing to support King Street, and we're very grateful for it. Because that's really important, that this is an organisation, a government organisation that recognises that the model of early intervention and self-directed care is vital for our community. And in the past, I would say when people come through the door, yes, the art is an important part of King Street, but now since COVID, we've realised that actually it's the connecting is the important part. The art, yes, is important, but coming in and connecting with like-minded people, just feeling a part of something that's bigger than yourself. Here you can come, you can connect, and you can create and lose all that stuff that's in your mind. You know, on a daily basis, I see people succeed, and it might be just a small thing, but for them it's great. It's really a really big thing, and so that's a really nice thing. But I think generally speaking, our annual shows at Aotearoa, I'm very proud of those, and Aotearoa treat us really respectfully and treat our artists very respectfully, as if they were like Colin McCann's or something like that. So Aotearoa are fantastic, and it's a really professional environment to show our work in. We have, as I said, highlights every single day. I think we should have one of these in every town, at least in the Wairarapa, trying to remove as many barriers to access as possible for anybody. Open door policy, you don't need to be referred, so you're not having to be a card-carrying mental health consumer to access the service, which means people can access that have issues at home, maybe anxiety, maybe depression, just low-level issues that are important but don't need clinical assessment or clinical intervention. So they can come in here and they can look after themselves by doing that. No fees, so that's always a barrier to people, especially in this environment now. So making sure that people can come in here without any cost whatsoever. So the other thing is access for youth as well. So yes, we have a child's policy, but we really are working on a one-by-one case because we recognise that some youth have different needs to others and they may need to access King Street as well, with support, of course, depending on their age. But that's the sort of thing that we really want to encourage, that all manner of the community can access the place, really. The other thing, of course, is we do the Twilight Art program and we do the Saturday program, so that we encourage whānau to become part of the healing journey for the individual. And people have mental health issues that are working, so that's why they need to have access after hours. Yeah, we don't want barriers in the way for people, but really we work with the individual to their needs, because it's such a wide variety of people in different skill levels. We have to be kind of adaptable and work with that individual and see what they want.
So why art and creativity? How is that beneficial, do you think, to people's well-being and mental health?
First of all, you've got to think about that mindfulness, which is a kind of current trend, but we've been doing it for 25 years. We recognise the fact that when you're creating, that creative process, you're taken out of your mind, if you like, and you're focusing on that moment, on that creation moment. So you're looking at somebody that's creating artwork, but using that process separate from socialising, because they're creating here, but they're socialising with somebody over the desk from them. But generally that peer support is just happening through the chatting process over the process of art. And sharing your story with somebody is really important, but you may not be able to do that outside of another social environment. But King Street provides that safe place where people can share their story. So there's that peer support is so important at King Street, and it was all the time. But it's alongside the art.
Well, it was after I'd fallen into a very deep and unexpected depression and an obviously unsuccessful, am I allowed to use the word, suicide attempt? Obviously I didn't succeed, otherwise I wouldn't be here. And I was picked up at the hospital by a very lovely lady from mental health services. And she came round to my house and she saw the things I've painted and made and said the best therapy for you would actually be through art. So let's get you somewhere where you can actually go through that. And she also knew that what I needed to do was not be so isolated. Pretty much I talked to my goats and my sheep and my cats, but I needed to start interacting with people. And at that time I was very, very isolated in a little box like this. I had just gone right down. And so she brought me to King Street. And so that's how I started off here. It was to integrate back into society using art as a medium. I think one of the things that I most appreciated about being here was there was no pressure. I was already under enough self-imposed pressure. And I think the way that King Street handled me, if they did handle me at all, was absolutely brilliantly. They didn't lead me down a path, they opened paths for me, which for me was so important. I think if anybody had tried to lead me somewhere, I would have just run off in the other direction and buried myself back in the country. And that's one of the things that I so appreciate about King Street, is that they open, and not just one path, but multiple paths, and through the medium of art, whether it's painting or computers or sewing or ceramics. It's here we've got these paths for you to actually express yourself and to explore yourself. And the medium of art has been a tremendous way of rediscovering and getting back in touch with myself. And art is so great because it says, look, Rome isn't going to be built in a day, a painting isn't going to be completed in a day, and you as an individual are not going to heal in a day or grow in a day or become something in a day. Everything is a process and everything takes time, and it's one of the things that I love about this place. It says, look, just as this needs time, so you need time and process and learn. A lot of encouragement. And another way that King Street has helped me is it's got me out of myself and looking more at other people, saying, how can I help you, or how can I inspire you, or even if just by saying good morning to everybody, which is another funny little thing that I really like about King Street. Someone walks in, everyone says, hi, good morning. Or when they go, it's hi, bye, have a good day. So it's not just a place where we learn art and learn about ourselves, it's also a place where we get back in touch with humanity. A person without a purpose is a confused person, and I think we're seeing this a lot in the world today, that people don't have a purpose. So those of us who have had our children as our purpose, we lose that purpose, and we don't have a sense of purpose anymore. And King Street does actually fill that, because it says, right, I'm going to make a teaspoon holder or a tea bag holder. So, well, that, for me, I say, okay, at least once a week, I will go to King Street, because otherwise I won't speak to another human being. If I don't come into King Street once a week, then I don't speak to anybody. So if I don't come here for a month, I haven't spoken to another human being for a month. So that is, for my mental health, I need to come in here and actually socialize. So there again, it's a sense of purpose to say, these are things I need to do. But if it wasn't for King Street, quite honestly, where else would I go? And that again, it's a sense of purpose saying there, I need to do these things to make sure I don't fall into that depression pit again. And King Street gives me that. It's absolutely amazing. I think the people have made it their job to keep an eye on each other, and that's quite wonderful. That'll give you heaps to edit.
Do you want to start with it here?
Yeah, I do. Okay, whakataka te hau ki te uru, whakataka te hau ki te tonga, kia mā kene ki uta, kia mā taratara ki tai. E hi aki ana te atukura, he tilt, he hoka, he hauhu, ti hei mauri ora. Te aroha, te whakapono, me te rangi Māori e tātou e ano. Te aroha, te whakapono, me te rangi Māori e tātou e.
Good, Ginny, that was awesome.
Thank you.
About 10 years ago, I started a te reo class. And so for me, the aim is for people to be able to stand and give their pepeha, which is where they're from. In that pepeha, it's what's your mountain's name, what's your river's name. If you have a marae, what's the marae's name. If you know your hapu, what's your hapu? And then it goes from grandparents down to you, all to your children. What my main goal is for everybody to be able to stand tall and say that. So a lot of te reo classes, they go through sentence structures, they go through all of this. We've done it so that te reo can be interesting. We throw dice, but we're actually looking at the dice and we're counting what the dice is. So it might be 3 6s. So it's ono, 1 0 or 1 1, and it's tahi. And we just go like that, but we do it as a group. And so that one is just to try and speed up people's memory of numbers. I'm also doing this year, it's an introduction to kōwhaiwhai. We have a few overseas artists, actually they're from overseas, who are now living in New Zealand, but they really love the Māori culture and they want to be able to interact that into their artwork. And so I wanted to do it so that we weren't inappropriately using Māori art and also misappropriation of art. We want to have more of our ownership on making sure our artists are safe within any sort of realm of culture. And we just used a koru to start with, which most kōwhaiwhai paintings come from nature. The koru originally came from the fern. For me, it's more about teaching that people it's okay to use as long as you can stand tall. But if you take that panel there and you've been inspired by it and you go, oh, I really, really like it. So you take it into the next panel and you go, okay, so it starts with a koru, goes around, comes down, has a mouth. Maybe I might put 2 mouths in there and I might add another couple of korus, or I might add another stem that takes it away from its originality, then put it over here, paint it, print it, do whatever, but then it becomes yours because you've changed it from the original one. But you can also write down, I was influenced, like when you write your artist statement, I was influenced by a Māori design called Pottery, which is a hammerhead shark. This world's turned into a computer world and we've got laptops and things like that. And today's means we need laptops, we need iPads and all that sort of stuff for our rangatahi, because that's what they use. Our rangatahi is youth, by the way. I like the pen and the paper. But that's all good because it's the other side of art.
Right? Sports. Did you know Mawhirete is coming up?
We made paper stars, whetū, and we stuck them all over the roof in the library. But we enjoyed it. We do it every day, greeting our artists who are new. Greeting them, bringing them forward, pati-patiing around them, making sure that they feel safe. So pati-pati means that gathering, nurturing aspect of life. So for me, that is one of the biggest things for the treaty that we can do is respecting the person that walks in the door. It's about nurturing our artists to make sure they feel safe. We gather them up because we have an open door policy here, and that's one of the biggest things I love is that our door is open to everybody. People are who they are, and I find King Street humbles anybody who works here. The magic of King Street, I suppose, that's how I put it down to, and the magic on how tutors have worked here for a long time. So we've picked up different skills as we've worked along, and you know what works and sometimes what doesn't. It's more of excitement. I'm really happy to have a workplace like this.
Hi Wendy, how's it going?
Good, thank you.
Good. When did you first come into King Street?
About 20 years ago, but I've been in the Wairarapa for a little bit more than 20 years.
So it was one of the first organisations that you engaged with?
Yes, it was.
How have you felt supported by King Street over the years?
Sometimes it's what you make of it and
Yes.
allow yourself to get support. I would feel very deprived if I couldn't come here.
And what does it allow you to do coming here?
I guess just be myself
Cool.
most of the time.
Yeah. And were you into visual arts before you came to King Street?
No, not at all. I had done a nighttime class in Pottery quite a long time ago, and I thought, oh, I'll go and do some more pottery. But as it turned out to be more interested in painting.
And have you felt supported by King Street?
I think sometimes you've got to ask for help when you need it, and some people aren't prepared to ask, or they're too shy to ask, and I'm not.
that people need to be talked to apart from the art that they're doing.
You see a value in the engagement that you get at King Street with other people?
Absolutely, yeah. I think people are pretty good at talking to everyone. So, yeah.
And in terms of the community, the wider community, how do you feel like King Street can help the wider community? And
Well, I would like King Street to get a bit more publicity in the wider community, because sometimes people have said to me various things about King Street and that they don't know what it's like, but seeing a bit more of what we do would be good.
what do you see as the greatest value this brings to people and wildlife?
Somewhere to go, something to do. Obviously depends on the individual and their needs. But if it fulfills their needs, then yeah.
Yeah, the inclusive nature of King Street's very important because it's a completely open workshop. But I went in with a friend and we had a look around, and then I started going regularly. King Street gave me a space, a place where I could just spend hours making whatever I wanted to, and I had people around me to talk to. You meet all sorts of people at King Street, and the tutors were supportive and practical. They helped me start to make pictures that looked good and express what I wanted to do. I've worked as a botanical illustrator at times. I've always been able to do things like that. I've always liked doing things like that. Yeah, this style developed out of doing collages. I seem to have developed a style that became my own, that was different from what anyone else was doing. And that definitely happened at King Street. I had space, I had time, I had materials. I had people to support me. It was a very, very lucky discovery for me, King Street. It would have been slow and maybe even impossible if I hadn't been able to use that workshop, that space, those wonderful people. Yeah, I know that having encouragement does help a lot, because you don't know if what you're doing is going anywhere or whether it's pleasing to other people. Encouragement is very, very important. Yeah, and you get a lot of it there. At King Street, you don't have to pay for anything. I had freedom suddenly. I had the opportunity to make things and be able to make cups of tea and talk to people as well. I did some pieces as gifts for people, but not seriously, like this is more my serious work. It's not very serious though. The staff there all have different skills, especially as I explored materials and techniques that I've never used before. So I think that King Street is really good for people who want to explore creative things but they don't know how to start, and then they find you can build confidence through doing things. So many people say, oh, I can't draw, I can't do that, I'm not creative. Or they say, I can't do that like you do, but I just keep working. You just have to keep, if you really want to do something, just keep working on it. I think the encouragement, the practical encouragement that you can get there is very, at King Street, is very, very useful. Yeah.
What got you through the door into King Street? What got you coming here?
My course, for starters, and Ian turning up and talking about the place. It just really had a good note with me. Well, after being here the first week, just noticed how relaxed, how everyone was just really comfortable with each other, and I liked that. And that was everyone. And I thought, whoa, it's a good place. And you can sit there and just talk to him.
That sounds like the social aspect of King Street. Is it sort of a big thing for you?
For me personally, yeah, as I didn't get out much. I like talking to people and things like that, but I don't like going out. Or being around lots of people. I just don't do it. Never have. I don't really make great art, but I do stonework and things like that. For me, that's my escape, my creativeness and things like that. But I appreciate watching people who are really good at what they can do, or just good, or enjoy what they're doing. I've been here 13 years and I didn't even know this place was here, which was a shame, because a great asset to the community. Amazing. So when you're feeling that lost or something, we can come and be found quite quickly.
Every place should have a place like King Street, because it's just a great place for people to come if they're at a loose end or not feeling quite right within their community. This place here, I think, can help them come right quite easily. It's a good model.
From a personal level, how do you feel like King Street helps sort of support your own
For
personal?
mine, it was amazing. To get me out and about with people. So I've had concussion and things like that, and I have anxiety problems. And since I walked in here, I just feel comfortable at home, and that did it for me. Again, it's too easy. Connecting with people, any sort of connection, just sitting with a cup of coffee, that's a connection. And that's what I'm liking. You can connect in so many different levels with so many different people. There's something I'm needing to look at now, the self-reflection, reflective writing, all those sort of things. It's helped me look into myself a lot more and understand, oh yeah, I'm not as bad as I thought it was. A lot of it's thinking, so you get sort of mind traps and all those sort of things. And sort of things that I've been in and realised that, I can get out of these things if I change the way I think, my thinking pattern. So these things, here's a good space to change those. I've been asked about other tools people use for their own anxieties and stuff. We all use some quite different things, but they all work. Oh yeah, I find massive value personally. Yeah, I tell a lot of people that come here, because I've spoken to at parties, I really want to go do something. We did this, come to Key Street up. We've got all the gear there, we've got tutors there to show you how to do them. Put your foot in the door, that's all you need to do. And you'll find that it'll be a place you might come back quite regularly. Yeah.